little things. One of the movies that would have been a big splash, I think, if it had been allowed to go to theaters. But with the great and horrible zombie apocalypse that we're suffering right now, nothing's going to the theaters. So this movie that could have been more powerful at the theaters went to HBO Max, which isn't a problem, I guess, starring Denzel Washington, Remy Malik, and Jared Leto. Sounds like it's going to be great, but it was extremely fair. It's an old cop trope for movies. Old cop that's great runs into new cop that's great. They don't like each other for whatever reason, but they decide that they need to work together on this case, and that's what happens. Denzel, of course, is the older police officer, the older detective. He leaves. He was a great detective. He did 10 years without getting a promotion. Makes you go, what was that about? And then suddenly he just leaves after a big case that he couldn't crack. He leaves and goes to a small town and is, I guess, a sheriff's deputy or something. Something else that makes you go, why did he do that? He was living in a nice neighborhood, nice house. Now he's in a trailer. What's up with that? You start to think, well, maybe, that case broke him. So he meets with the new cop, the new detective, and they decide that they're going to go on this case together. And they're going to look for the serial killer that Denzel was looking for from his past, that is now in prison rather, up there. So they're like, okay, you know what, we just need some evidence. So he's having a hard time bringing the evidence because they won't release it to him so he can bring it to the court. He finally gets a hold of the evidence, and the dude, once he finds out that he's being connected to the other murder, kills himself. Okay, so now Denzel's like, well, okay, I guess it's over with. The guy killed himself. There's nothing left for me. But the new cop is like, hey, but the murders continued after the dude died. Maybe you were wrong. So Denzel's like, I'm not wrong. Let me check this out with you. They decided to team up together on this new case. I don't know exactly how that happened, sort of a la Beverly Hills Cop. He just took a couple weeks of vacation and just started working the case like Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. He wasn't supposed to leave, Detroit, but he did and went to Beverly Hills because he took vacation, and he's still a cop, just not there. And so that's the same thing. Denzel's like, I'm taking some vacation time. And then he starts working a case, and this other cop who's supposed to be like 100% by the line, rule of the book and everything, he says, yeah, man, let's break some laws together. I don't really know you, and I heard you might have been a douche, but we're going to work together. It didn't make sense. I didn't understand it. What I'm thinking is there are pieces left out, and because of the pandemic, they weren't able to film everything, or maybe they cut some stuff, or something happened wacky that just ended up on the cutting room floor, maybe. I don't know. But it seemed like some of the movie was missing. He has a wife in town, Denzel does, and she doesn't really talk to him, not really. She's curious about how he's been doing, but that's about it. Actually, I don't think she even let him in her house. The police chief that was working there when he was there previously is still there, and he wants people to stay away from him. He's bad news, man. Stay away from him. They were friends. What's up with that? Things that make you go, Then a new suspect emerges through Denzel's off-duty vacation work. They figure out that there's a new guy that could potentially be the serial killer. So they start checking him out, and he just turns himself in. He's like waiting for the police. They come get him. He's like, yeah, let's go, man. And instead of knowing the police are looking for him, for multiple murders that he's probably going to be implicated in. I mean, they came and knocked on his front door. He sits down and decides he wants to have a conversation with them and taunt them. He had a really nice car. Why didn't you run? I mean, he knew they were following him. He knew they were building a case against him. They knocked on his door and brought him in. They didn't arrest him. They just asked him to come in. He's like, yeah, okay. I'm thinking, why? You knew they were coming. Why didn't you run? But he just stays in town and taunts them. They're outside his house, and he goes outside and he's waving at them and stuff. And I'm like, he's a crazy person. I mean, he's a serial killer, so he probably is a crazy person. But I'm thinking, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? This isn't a superhero movie. It's Jared Leto, so maybe he thought he was still the Joker. I don't know. But he's like just talking to him and stuff. And they're like, we know you did it. And he's like, of course I did. I'm thinking, what? That's confession. But, it's a movie. So he goes out there, the new cop and Denzel are together watching his house. Neither one of them is supposed to be there, and they're just sitting outside his house. And then Denzel leaves for a minute to get a coffee. The guy walks up and tells the new cop, hey man, you got me. You want to know where those bodies are at? I'll show you. He should have been arrested right then. He just confessed to multiple murders, and one that just happened a couple days ago. But instead of arresting him, he's like, I could wait for my fake partner, but I think I'll just drive off with you. Oh, what? You want me to get in your car without my partner? Sure, that's a good idea. So he gets in the other guy's car and lets the guy take him away, and Denzel's walking down the street. He happens to see them. This is something else that I didn't get. He happens to see him. They're driving. The guy's like in a Charger or something, one of those fast, muscle cars, and he's zooming down the street. Denzel, who is, an incredible actor, but is still like 90 years old, runs down the street, jumps in the other guy's car, who he just happened to leave the keys in the ignition, I guess, just in case. Denzel cranks that puppy up. It's like a Ford, found on road dead, fix or repair daily. It's like a Ford beatdown, and he's chasing this Charger down the street, gets caught at a light. The dude jumps on the highway in a souped up Charger. Denzel is at the light waiting patiently, sitting there twiddling his thumbs. Light turns green. He didn't run the light. I'm thinking, your partner's probably going to get killed. What are you doing? And he didn't run the light. He just kind of sat there like, better wait for this light. And then runs into the darkness. It's not even daytime, it's dark. He's in the darkness driving. All he can see is red lights. But he found him because he's Denzel, and that's kind of what he does. So he found the car. He ran up on the car without speeding. I mean, he wasn't like zigzagging through the traffic. He was just driving, kind of looking, and he ran into the car. What? And then after he found the car, the guy took a left or a right, got off the highway. Denzel followed him off the highway and then lost him. He found him in the middle of the night, walking down the street to his car while the dude was zooming down the street, got caught at a light while the dude was on the highway, caught the dude driving at regular pace, but they took a turn, got off the highway, and he lost him in the street. And then, after losing him in the street, the dude drives for miles, right? I mean, he drives for so long that the other cop is like, where we going, man? He's like, oh, we're going to another city or wherever. He said, blah, blah, blah. And it's called The Little Things. I probably should have memorized the little things of this movie, but I didn't. He jumped off into the street, and he's driving forever. And Denzel's like driving down the streets. And then something clicks in his mind, and he says, I think I'm going to take this dirt road. And he drives down the dirt road. And the dude drove down the dirt road for like 8 miles. And Denzel follows him. There's exits on there's a big long dirt road, like one of those, farmland type deals. And he's driving down the dirt road, and he's looking left and right. There's no lights or nothing. And he drives past where they went, and then he comes back. And it's like, I think it's that road. And he goes down the road, and I'm like, is he one of the X-Men? How's he finding these dudes? What? And he found them. He drives down the road, time lapse, while he's driving looking for him. This is probably why the directors and the writers separated them. The dude tells the cop, Jimmy, he's like, hey, I think the body is right here, man. I buried it. You can find it. You're not supposed to dig up no body. You're supposed to call a forensics team. I'm not a cop, but that's what they do. I had family that was cops, and that's what they did. You call in the forensics. You can't disturb the evidence, man. You lose the case. Why would you do that? Why would you catch the dude and say, I've got you and I've got evidence? Let me clean it first because it's kind of dirty. It's got blood all over it. Let me pour some bleach on it and clean it. Ooh, you know what? Let's just destroy this shirt and get you another one. I'll set this on fire. You're not supposed to destroy the evidence, man. And when you're digging in the hole of where the body might be, yeah, you're messing with the evidence. You're destroying the case. But he starts digging, looking for the body. And I'm like, well, that's odd. And then he says, you know what? I made a mistake. It's not there. It's over here. So the guy's like, okay, I'll dig over there. So he starts digging a hole. When they back up and show it, the time lapse, they back up and show it, he dug like 10 holes. And he's in there, took his jacket off, and he's like, he's in there grunting because he's exhausted. And I'm thinking, okay. This dude probably doesn't know, because he's walking with a little bit of a limp. He probably doesn't know if he can take you in a fair fight. So he brought you here. The body might be here. Who knows? I mean, he knew where his dirt was at, where there would be a lot of dirt, so you could have to dig. He had a shovel in his trunk, so he must have planned this out. He brought him here, had him digging several holes. The cop didn't say to himself, boy, I sure am getting tired. He didn't say that. And the guy, why would he be digging holes? You shouldn't have been digging the holes to begin with. You're going to mess up the evidence. And he's supposed to be like a super cop, so he should know that. 2, why are you digging a hole instead of him? You got a gun. He ain't got no gun. All he had in his hand was some fingers. And he couldn't threaten you with nothing. He had that shovel, but that didn't do any good. So I'm thinking, why are you out there digging all these holes, man? The story doesn't make any sense. Then the story takes a hard left. I don't think I should give away the ending because something happens, excuse me, something happens that makes you say, wow, didn't see that coming. And then that incident leads to another thing, a confession where you're like, wow, so wait, what? Hold on, what? You're the killer? Well, who have you been looking for? Because there's another thing that makes you go, what? And the whole movie just takes like a really sinister turn. And I enjoyed the movie, but I'm thinking it makes you think how many police officers are out there doing their job and they're great at their job or whatever. And they have these sinister little secrets, the little things, that they've done. Maybe set somebody up. Maybe planted some evidence on somebody. Maybe did something. They made it seem like, this kind of stuff happens, man. You just fix it and move on with your life. But you find out why some of the people in the movie are in the situation that they're in. Because at the very end, it kind of backtracks and shows you what really happened with the murders. And I'm like, wow, that was unexpected. It was good, but it was unexpected. It was unexpected to the point that it was kind of bad and kind of good, because I didn't expect it, but I wasn't really looking for it either. I mean, as in like I didn't want it, but when it happened, I was like, wow, that was terrible. It's like if you're out on a boat and somebody's skiing and a shark bites them, you're like, oh my God, that was terrible. It's that kind of a reaction, When it happened, I was like, oh, that I didn't appreciate that at all. That's the kind of thing that happened. So unfortunately, it's Denzel, but I'm going to give The Little Things 6 bags of popcorn. Man, almost 7. It was almost 7, but it was too much. 6 bags of popcorn. Man, that's what I think about that. I hate to be hard on Denzel because, I mean, it's Denzel. Baby, you want Denzel to be like 8, 9, 10 all the time, but nah. But that's what I think. More importantly, what do you think? Now that you've seen this video, do you want to see the little things? I probably gave away a lot of the movie. Not the last thing, but wow, a lot of it, right? Spoilers. I hope I said that at the beginning. I think I did. Pretty sure. I guess I'll go back and watch the video and make sure I did. But now that you've seen this video, please like, share, and subscribe.
Popcorn passport. Get your popcorn passport.